This is a rebuttal video to Eric Sammons and Steve Cunningham, who both seem to be talking about secession an awful lot. And I want to just put some points out there on why I don't think this will work. Not only why I don't think it'll work, and why it's a bad idea. First off, I want to just say that I respect both these guys. I don't think I've ever disagreed with Eric Sammons on anything until this. So this is probably the one topic I think he's wrong on. He did a video a couple weeks ago about why we should secede and bringing things back to states' rights and getting away from DC he's right in all the reasons we should, but he didn't point out any of the reasons we shouldn't. And what it comes down to is that we don't have a culture. And what that means is you have states, let's say Florida or Texas, want to secede. Those states don't have anything to unite around. So even when you look back to the days of Rome, the reason Rome collapsed was because they stopped believing in the pagan gods. So they stopped having these festivals and they stopped having a unifying element that kept them together. So let's say a state like Florida secedes. Now you have, first off, it's not a total, like a unanimous thing that everybody wants to secede. So you think you have a red state now that's that's on their own. But in reality, you have a purple state that has, even if it's 60-40, that's a lot. I'd say it's more like 56-64, something like that. So you don't have anything that's going to unite that culture around anything. So I gotta turn this off. Hang on. So you have to understand what is going on right now. The war on Christmas. What do you think the point of that is? Nobody ever in the world was offended by the word Christmas. So when Kathy Hochul changes the Christmas tree to the holiday tree, that's not because anybody's offended by it. What they're trying to do is eliminate the few things left that unite us. The reason you hear constant talk of white supremacy and all this nonsense with critical race theory is for the same reason. There's a couple of things that can unite a culture. One is ethnicity. One is patriotism. You have religion is the main one. So without a common religion, America had Christianity as still, even though it was fractured amongst the different Protestant groups, you still had the same moral ethic. What we have now is more than two cultures. People think it's just left and right, and it's really not. So it's not like the main one is obviously the divide between left and right. So I mean, you have two different ideas here. You have some people that love freedom, and then you have other people that love authoritarianism, apparently. But there's also the idea that we cannot agree on right and wrong anymore. So there are people that believe that chemically castrating children is an acceptable thing. I mean, how do you ever see eye to eye with these people again? How can you ever form any kind of a culture again? There was a time where, even though America wasn't necessarily religious, you still had pop culture to unite around. So you'd have water cooler talk. Everybody would come into work and talk about last night's episode of Seinfeld. You don't even have that anymore. You have everybody watching different things. I mean, even I'm able to broadcast. You guys are watching me right now. I don't know what you guys are thinking. So without having anything to unite around, even the right, there are people like we have this big tent Republican Party right now. That's absurd. It's not, it may get an election done, but in reality, that's nothing uniting those people. You can't have freedom as an idol to unite around. It's just not going to work. Now, if Florida or Texas or New Hampshire secede, you still have 40 something percent of the population that I said 56, 64 before. That's 110%. 40 something percent that is still opposed to it. So what you'll have is situations like, let's even say the BLM riots that happened last year. Once secession happens, you no longer have a constitution, and you'll have the neighboring state maybe even giving weapons. It's going to turn to violence. Like, without a doubt, it's going to turn to violence. The whole reason they're opening the border right now is because they want the United States to fall apart. We are the biggest impediment. And Steve Cunningham, of all people, should know this because he's constantly paying attention to the Great Reset. The Great Reset, the whole idea behind it is one entity to run the world. The biggest impediment to that right now is the United States. A lot of people think that Trump was the main reason for some of the COVID insanity, and I don't think it was. I think it was Brexit. The EU was already working towards this unified system, and Brexit came along, and now they're breaking apart. And I think a lot of the insanity you're seeing is because of that. They are trying to now make everything dissolve. They want constitutions gone, and they are going to rebuild something in its place. So if we start balkanizing, you're going to see it become violent. The best case scenario for them is martial law. So if like a civil war type scenario is something they actually want, it's not like, hang on, it's not something that a lot of people think that the government would never allow a civil war. I think it's something they're aiming towards. I think they want to dissolve the United States. And I think all the things they're doing right now is to try to, any unity we have left, like patriotism is seen as racist now. You're looking at, I already said immigration coming through the border. They're trying to influx us. So they don't want you rallying around ethnicity, nationality, even the troops. Look what they're doing in the military right now. They're purging the military. There are so many things that are actively happening right now to try and dissolve what is left of the culture in this country. Now, in order for a secession movement to work, you would have to have, I think, a Catholic state or even a Protestant state, but it would have to be united. You can't have people that just think freedom is going to work. It's not. It's got to be something that actually unites people. The beginning of the fracturing of the West was the Protestant Reformation. The beginning of the New World Order was the revolt in the 16th century. It was when you had Christendom. The only reason it held together after that is because while the Reformation was going on in Europe, you had second Christendom popping up in the Americas. So if that wasn't happening, it would have, I don't think we'd have ever made it as far as we did. So it's because of second Christendom happening in South America, Mexico, Central America, you had this new unified culture and a cultus. It's something that unites people, that everybody believes the same God, everybody believes the same moral framework. We do not have that in this country anymore. We do not even have the same pop culture. We are so fragmented at this point. It's beyond. I think if we're going to make it through this, we have to try and keep something go. I honestly think the only way people are going to make it in the future are, especially Catholics, I think we have to move to rural areas, find traditional parishes, and really build small enclaves of Catholic culture. I don't think any other, I think you have to really start thinking from the ground up and going from small to building something out from there. I don't know how else. I don't think a secession movement's going to make it. I don't think it'll work. I don't think that there's enough people unified for it. And I really, if you look towards Poland and Hungary, even, these are countries trying to prevent their borders from being open. Look at what is going on in the media alone. You had somebody made it so that a migrant caravan went to their border, and now Poland, trying to protect their border, all they're doing is making sure nobody comes in illegally. There's outcries for the way they're mistreating humans over there. This is what the hell was Kamala Harris saying? She called it a humanitarian nightmare. This is what will happen. You may get a state that tries to secede, and then the media will come in and attack. And you don't realize how powerful communication is. We're at a time where civil war is not going to be fought and divided amongst state lines. It's not, it's more information warfare. That's like fifth generational warfare. All they have to do is get a narrative going, and then nobody wants to be the guy that everybody's after. That's why you constantly see people apologizing for things that they don't really want to apologize for. I think we have to try to preserve whatever unity we have left without secession, and maybe even go smaller and start building small little communities and trying to get those to expand. It even did to the Cuomo brothers. I mean, they took them both down. You don't realize how powerful information is. And that would be what you are up against. You'd have every single media entity against you. You'd be a lone state in the middle of nowhere, and you would just have the complete power of the entire media coming at you. And that is a very big thing. Don't underestimate that. Even what is going on with Roe v. Wade right now, I'm worried is going to be a catalyst, because that's how this whole thing even came into my head today. I saw somebody tweeted that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, blue states should secede. Now, if blue states initiate the secession, we're talking about a different scenario now. Now you don't have the media angle, because the media might actually support it. But for red states to try and secede, I think you will have every single entity against you. So my point is, I don't think the real issue is DC. I don't think you're seeing these policies actually coming from DC. I think these problems and these policies are coming from way above there. So divorcing from DC may, in some people's heads, be an answer to the problem, where I think this thing is a way bigger issue. And I don't think, I just don't think they'll allow it. Oh, they'll allow it to further the fracturing, but then they'll dissolve that seceded state into an even more fractured state. And you couldn't get a full state. It's just going to fracture even more and fracture even more. And that's what they want. So instead of pulling something out of the union, I think we need to just pick a spot and start from the ground up and build something up within a state that already exists, that has some kind of better, more freedom than, your average state. So let me know your thoughts. I hope either of these guys will come on and talk about this in person or face to face, because I think having a discussion where there's rebuttals going on is a lot better. Me just spouting off like whatever I think, and the last video Eric did whatever he thought, and there's not really a chance to bat ideas off each other. I want to be sold on secession these are just my objections to it and why I don't think it'll happen. So hit like, hit subscribe, watch my future videos. I like to do this about once to twice a week. Thanks, guys.